You know how your dog sometimes seems to know your home before you've even reached the door? Maybe it recognizes the rhythm of your footsteps. Maybe it catches your scent drifting in from outside. Whatever the clue, it knows it's you. But what would happen if you stopped coming home? For a while, you'd still be part of the house. Your scent would linger on your clothes, in the furniture, and in all the places where your dog was used to finding you. Eventually, though, those traces would fade, and life would move on. Then imagine coming back years later. You look different. Your voice has changed. You may not even smell quite the same. Would your dog know you? Or would it hesitate, trying to make sense of someone who feels familiar but looks like a stranger? So how long does it actually take for a dog to forget you? Science can't give us an exact number, but it can show us what your dog remembers and why some bonds may last. When we think about memory, we usually think in stories. We remember the day we brought our dog home, the nervous drive back, the first walk around the neighborhood, the first shoe that didn't survive. Years later, we can return to those moments in our minds and describe what happened. A dog probably doesn't experience its past in quite the same way. It may not remember the date of its first walk or what you were wearing when the two of you met. But that doesn't mean the experience has disappeared. A great deal of canine memory is built through association. Your dog learns that the sound of a leash means it's about to go outside. It learns that a bowl placed on the kitchen floor usually means food is coming. And somewhere along the way, it learns the particular rhythm of your life. It notices how you move through the house, where you sit at the end of the day, and how your voice changes when you're pleased, worried, or about to leave. None of these details seems especially important on its own, but they happen again and again. Over time, hundreds of ordinary moments begin to connect. A routine becomes a sense of predictability, and predictability becomes safety. That is where a relationship begins to become difficult to erase. But among all the signals your dog learns, one may reach deeper than the rest: your scent. Human beings experience the world mainly through sight. For dogs, smell plays a much larger role. Every person carries a complex chemical signature created by their skin, hair, breath, clothing, and environment. We barely notice these traces. A dog can use them to build an extraordinarily detailed picture of who has been somewhere, where they went, and perhaps even how recently they left. So when your dog smells you, it isn't simply detecting a familiar odor. That scent has been present during meals, games, walks, quiet evenings, and moments of reassurance. It has become connected to everything your dog has learned to expect when you are near. Researchers have even looked inside the canine brain to see what happens when the scent of a familiar person returns. In one brain imaging study, dogs were presented with odors belonging to unfamiliar people, unfamiliar dogs, and individuals they already knew. The familiar humans themselves were not in the room, only their scent was there. Yet the scent of a familiar person produced a particularly strong response in an area of the canine brain associated with positive expectations and reward. Think about that for a moment. You don't have to be standing in front of your dog for its brain to respond to you. A trace left behind on a piece of clothing may be enough to activate associations built across months or years. Your scent becomes more than evidence that you were there. It becomes a kind of emotional signature. For a long time, canine memory was often explained as little more than conditioning. A dog performs a behavior and receives a reward. It hears a word and expects a walk. It sees a bowl and anticipates food. But research suggests that dogs can retain more than trained commands in familiar routines. In one experiment, dogs watched people perform simple actions. At the time, the dogs had no reason to believe they would need to remember what they had seen. Later, they were unexpectedly asked to repeat those actions. Some of them could. Researchers describe this as evidence of episodic-like memory, the ability to retain information about an event without deliberately preparing to remember it. That doesn't prove a dog can sit quietly and replay yesterday, as a human might. We still can't ask one what it remembers about its first home, or whether it dreams about a person it hasn't seen in years. But the experiment suggests that experiences can leave lasting traces, even when those experiences were never turned into a routine. And some canine memories appear capable of surviving for a remarkably long time. A small group of dogs with an unusual talent for learning object names were taught the names of several toys. The toys were then taken away for 2 years. When they were finally brought back, some of the dogs could still identify several of them by name. This is a rare ability, and most dogs would not necessarily perform the same way. Still, it demonstrates something important. At least some canine memories can survive for years, even without regular reinforcement. And remembering a toy is much simpler than remembering a relationship. A relationship with a person isn't stored in one place. It is built from thousands of experiences that overlap and reinforce one another. Your dog becomes familiar with the sound of your voice and the pace of your footsteps. It learns the routes you walk together, the way your hand feels on its head, and the small behaviors that are uniquely yours. It also remembers what tends to happen when you are near. Perhaps food appears. Perhaps the door opens and the two of you go outside. Perhaps something frightening happens and your presence makes the world feel safe again. Your dog may not preserve all of this as one perfect story. Instead, your identity may be spread across a network of smells, sounds, movements, expectations, and emotions. If one part of that network fades, another may remain. This helps explain why recognition after a long separation is not always immediate. Years can change a person dramatically. Their face ages, their posture changes, their voice becomes unfamiliar. A new home, medication, illness, or even a different diet can alter the way they smell. The dog may have changed as well. Its eyesight may be weaker, its hearing may have declined, and its sense of smell may no longer be as sharp as it once was. Some older dogs also develop canine cognitive dysfunction, a condition that can affect awareness and memory. So when someone returns after many years, the dog may not immediately run across the room. It may stop and watch. It may approach carefully or even bark at the person standing in front of it. That hesitation doesn't necessarily mean the memory is gone. The dog's brain may simply be searching for enough familiar pieces to complete the pattern. Then something gets through. Maybe it's an old nickname, a particular whistle, a familiar movement of the hand. Or perhaps the dog comes close enough to find a trace of scent that time never completely erased. The uncertainty begins to disappear. The ears lift, the body relaxes, the tail begins to move, and the stranger becomes familiar again. So how long does it take for a dog to forget you? The honest answer? Science doesn't know. There is no universal countdown. It depends on the dog, its health, how long you were together, and what you meant to its life. Someone it met briefly may fade, but a person who brought years of safety and affection may remain for an extraordinarily long time, possibly for life. A dog can trust new people, learn new routines, and love another family, but a new bond does not erase an old one. Years from now, one familiar signal may return, your voice, a gesture, or a trace of scent in the air, and thousands of ordinary moments may connect again. Your dog may not remember your life together as a perfect story, but it may still remember how the world felt when you were there.